power of a number tells you how many times to multiply the number by itself. For example, 2 to the power of 1, that's just 2 on its own once. 2 to the power of 2, that's 2 times 2, which is 4. 2 to the power of 3, that's 2 times 2 times 2, which is 8. And then 2 to the power of 4, that's 2 times 2 times 2 times 2, so 4 times, which is 16. Now, I'm just going to go back to a couple of those because there are special ways you can say 2 to the power of 2 and 2 to the power of 3. Another way of saying 2 to the power of 2 would be to say 2 squared. And another way of saying 2 to the power of 3 would be 2 cubed. You might hear people referring to those, but all they really mean is 2 to the power of 2 or 2 to the power of 3. Okay, so now we know what powers are, let's move on to the laws or the rules of working with them. Rule number 1, if you've got two numbers with powers that are multiplied together like this, then what you do is you add the powers together. For example, 2 squared times 2 to the power of 4, that's the same as 2 to the power of 6, just adding the 2 and the 4. If we've got two numbers with powers that are divided by each other, then you subtract the powers. So that's the same as x to the power of a minus b. So if we've got 2 to the power of 10 divided by 2 to the power of 2, that's the same as 2 to the power of 8. Third rule, if you've got x to the power of a to the power of another number, then you multiply the powers. So that's going to be x to the power of ab. Remember, two things next to each other in algebra with nothing in between means there's an invisible times in between, so we're multiplying the a and the b. For example, 3 to the power of 4 to the power of 3, that's just 3 to the power of 12. More things to be aware of here in terms of laws. If you've got anything to the power of 1, that's just going to be itself. We saw this earlier with 2 to the power of 1 just being 2, but let's look at another example. So 7 to the power of 1, that's just 7. Any number, so 128 to the power of 1, just 128. Another one which is a little bit strange, but one we have to know, is anything to the power of 0 is always 1. Anything. 7 to the power of 0, that's 1. 128 to the power of 0, also 1. Next thing we're going to talk about is negative powers, and these can be a little bit trickier. So if you've got x to the power of minus a, that's actually the same as 1 over x to the power of a. For example, 3 to the power of minus 2, that's the same as 1 over 3 squared. And that, in turn, is the same as 1 over 9. Another one, 2 to the power of minus 3, that's the same as 1 over 2 cubed, which is 1 over 8. Now, another way of thinking about this is if you're starting with just 2, you could write that as a fraction as 2 over 1, and then 2 over 1 to the power of minus 3. We're still going to do this 1 over trick, but instead we're going to think about flipping that fraction upside down. So that's the same as 1 over 2 to the power of 3. So this is a different way of thinking about negative powers. You can start with a fraction and then flip it upside down to deal with the negative. That would be the same as 1 cubed over 2 cubed, which in turn again is the same as 1 over 8. So as you can see, we get the same answer, it's just a slightly different way of thinking about it. This way of thinking about it is useful for if you're starting with a fraction. So for example, if we've got 2/5 to the power of minus 2, we want to deal with that negative by flipping the fraction upside down. So that's going to give us 5 over 2 to the power of 2. And that's the same as 5 squared over 2 squared, or 25 over 4. That process of flipping the fraction upside down, that's also referred to as the reciprocal. Reciprocal means flipping something upside down. The reciprocal of 2/5 is 5 over 2, and the reciprocal of 2 over 1 is 1 over 2. Okay, so now I have some examples to work through. Simplify p squared times p to the power of 5. Now, from earlier on, when we saw two things multiplied together, we need to add the powers. So that will be p to the power of 2 plus 5, which is the same as p to the power of 7. Next one, we've got 4ab squared inside the brackets, all to the power of 3. Be careful with this one. You want to apply that power of 3 to each part of what's inside the bracket. So starting with the 4, we would do 4 cubed, or 4 to the power of 3. Then we would move on to the a and do a to the power of 3. And then we would move on to the b squared to the power of 3. Now, that is that power law about timesing the two powers together. So that's going to give us b to the power of 6. Altogether, that gives 64 a cubed b to the power of 6. Part C. For this one, we want to simplify each part separately. And by that I mean, start with the numbers. So 16 divided by 4, that gives 4. Then move on to the next letter. So m to the power of 7 divided by m to the power of 3. That's going to give m to the power of 4 because we are subtracting those powers. And then lastly, n cubed divided by n. One way of thinking about that is thinking that n on its own has an invisible 1 as its power. So you can do that subtraction trick again here and say that's n squared. That was for the n parts, n cubed divided by n to the power of 1, n squared. Next example. So we've got powers of 3 here, all times and divided by each other. And we want to write it as a single power of 3. Start by doing the top first. We've got 3 to the power of 4 times 3 to the power of 5. That would give 3 to the power of 9 from adding those two powers over 3 squared. Then we can subtract because we're dividing. So it's 3 to the power of 7. Next one, we've got a negative power. Remember, that means 1 over 3 cubed. And another way of saying that is just 1 over 27. Part C, we've got that special weird case. Anything to the power of 0 equals 1. Third example, write 64 times 4 to the power of 5 as a power of 4. This one's interesting. If you look, 64 can actually be written as a power of 4 straight away because that's the same as 4 cubed. Now we've changed the problem into 4 cubed times 4 to the power of 5. And we're back in that hopefully comfortable state where we've got two things multiplied together, so we just add the powers. And that will be 4 to the power of 8. Last example, write down the reciprocal of 8. So that word reciprocal, remember, means flipping the number upside down. So if we're starting with just 8 on its own, that's the same as 8 over 1. So to do the reciprocal, we just flip it upside down and it becomes 1 over 8. And that's the answer. That's it for now. If you found this video useful, remember to like, comment, and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. And please do feel free to share this with anyone else that you think might find it helpful. Thanks, and see you next time.